At 72, Harold thought he was ready for a fresh start. Recently divorced and hoping to rekindle intimacy, he met someone special, but when the moment came, his body failed him. He panicked, pulled away, and left without saying a word. He felt broken, convinced he was beyond hope. What he didn't know, it wasn't him, it was the years of habits he'd never been taught to change. I'm Dr. James, a urologist specializing in men's health with over 30 years of experience. I've worked with thousands of men, helping them regain their confidence, restore intimacy, and protect their health as they age. For many men, the idea of maintaining a satisfying sex life after 60 feels impossible. But here's the truth. It's not about age. It's about understanding what's happening in your body and adjusting accordingly. Today I'm going to share 5 powerful secrets that many older men wish they had known sooner. These are lessons that can change how you experience intimacy for the better. If you find these insights helpful, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Also, let me know you're here by typing 1" in the comments. If not, type 0. I'm here to serve you with the best advice possible, tailored to your health needs. Let's dive in. Number 1. The myth of spontaneity and intimacy after 60. When you were younger, intimacy seemed easy. Spontaneous moments, unplanned, unexpected, were part of the thrill. You didn't have to think about it. Desire and performance lined up effortlessly, and there was a sense of pride in being able to just go for it whenever the opportunity arose. But as you age, the rules change. And here's the hard truth: spontaneity is no longer a reliable strategy. For many men over 60, the expectation that intimacy should still happen naturally, whenever the moment feels right, becomes a source of frustration. You may find yourself trying to force something that simply isn't working the way it used to. You feel like your body is betraying you, but it's not about being broken. It's about understanding how your body and intimacy need to be approached differently at this stage of life. This isn't a sign of weakness, it's actually wisdom. As we age, preparation, communication, and intention become key components of intimacy. Intimacy after 60 is less about performing in the moment and more about creating an environment where connection can thrive, without pressure or disappointment. What worked at 30 was built on biology, but what works at 60, 70, and beyond is rooted in preparation and mindfulness. And that shift, it can lead to a much deeper, more fulfilling connection, one that honors your body and your partner's needs. The impact of losing spontaneity on confidence. When intimacy becomes less spontaneous, it can feel like something is missing. The loss of that effortless connection is often accompanied by an emotional blow, a hit to your confidence, and sometimes to your identity. Many older men come to me heads down, avoiding eye contact.
They don't have a physical condition, there's nothing wrong with their bodies medically. But they've suffered an emotional blow. A failed intimate moment can feel devastating, even though it doesn't reflect the reality of their health. Take Gerald, a 69-year-old patient who came to see me not long ago. He was active, healthy, and had recently started dating after years of being alone. One night, he found himself with a partner, but when things turned intimate, his body didn't respond the way it once did. He panicked, pulled away, and made an excuse. He never saw her again, not because he didn't care, but because he was humiliated. He later told me, "It felt like I lost a part of my manhood that night." And that feeling, the feeling of inadequacy, sticks with men. It's not just about physical performance. It's about how it impacts your emotional well-being and self-worth. When you feel that disconnect, it creates an emotional distance. The shame takes root, and intimacy becomes something to avoid instead of embrace. But here's what I need you to understand: losing spontaneity doesn't mean losing intimacy. In fact, it can open the door to a deeper, more meaningful connection. Planning for intimacy doesn't kill the magic, it actually preserves it. By taking the time to communicate, relax, and prepare your body and mind, you eliminate the pressure and create space for connection to happen naturally. You start to appreciate the journey, rather than focusing on the destination. Instead of seeing the loss of spontaneity as a failure, view it as a chance to experience intimacy in a more thoughtful, intentional way. And in doing so, you protect your health, your confidence, and your relationship. The reality of aging and intimacy. As we age, things change. Your body doesn't work the same way it did when you were younger, and that applies to intimacy too. It's not about being less of a man or having lost your touch. It's about recognizing that intimacy evolves, just like every other part of life. What worked for you in your 30s and 40s was based on natural, spontaneous responses. But at 60, 70, and beyond, the game changes. You don't have the same energy, the same quick reflexes, or the same immediate reactions. And that's okay. Here's the shift: intimacy in later years is about intention, communication, and preparation. The idea that intimacy should happen without thought, without planning, is what sets men up for failure. But when you start approaching intimacy with a new mindset, one that respects the reality of aging, you create space for something deeper and more fulfilling. Your body may not always respond on command, but with the right understanding, you can still enjoy meaningful, powerful intimacy. It requires being present in the moment, not just expecting it to happen. It means talking to your partner about what feels good, creating an emotional connection before you even touch, and understanding that your body needs more time to prepare for physical intimacy. When you shift your focus from performance to connection, you free yourself from the stress of trying to make it happen like it once did. You allow yourself to experience intimacy in a way that's more in tune with your body, with your emotions, and with your partner's needs. Aging doesn't have to mean the end of intimacy. It's simply an invitation to experience it in a more meaningful and intentional way. Number 2. Erectile dysfunction as a warning sign for heart health. When most men experience erectile dysfunction, ED, after 60, they chalk it up to age. It's easy to assume that it's just part of getting older, a natural consequence of time. But here's a truth that many men don't know: ED isn't just a sexual issue, it's a heart issue. You see, an erection is more than just a physical response. It's a cardiovascular event. Your blood vessels expand, your heart pumps harder, and blood rushes to the penis. The arteries in your penis are smaller than those in your heart, which means they're often the first to show signs of cardiovascular problems. If the blood can't flow down there, it's a clear indication that your heart and larger arteries may be facing the same issue. I've seen this time and time again in my practice. Men come in for help with ED, not realizing that what they're experiencing might be a red flag for something far more dangerous. Many men ignore these signs, brushing them off as just part of aging, but that's a mistake. Let me share a story about one of my patients. David, a 67-year-old active man, came to me because he noticed that his erections weren't as strong as they used to be. He laughed it off, saying, "It's probably just age, document." But after a quick examination and some tests, I discovered that David had 90% blockage in his left anterior descending artery, the one they call the widowmaker. David was shocked. He came to me thinking it was a simple sex issue, but it turned out to be a life-threatening cardiovascular condition. This is why I urge every man over 60 to pay attention to changes in sexual health. ED can be an early warning sign of heart disease, diabetes, or high blood pressure. If you're experiencing problems in the bedroom, it's not just a normal part of aging, it's a signal from your body that something deeper may be going on. Don't ignore it. Get your heart checked, talk to your doctor, and take proactive steps to maintain your overall health. Your erection is a window into your heart health, and paying attention to it can save your life. Erectile dysfunction as a silent heart attack indicator. Many men don't realize that erectile dysfunction, ED, can be a warning sign for something much more serious than just sexual health. ED can often be the first indicator of a problem with your heart. One that might have been silently developing for years. The arteries in your penis are smaller than those in your heart, so they're the first to show signs of trouble. If your body is struggling to get blood to the penis, it's a good indicator that your larger arteries, the ones supplying your heart and brain, might also be facing blockages or narrowing. This is something that David, a 67-year-old patient, learned the hard way. David had been brushing off his occasional issues with erections for months, thinking it was just a part of aging. After all, he was still active, working part-time, and staying healthy. But when I ran a few tests, I discovered a 90% blockage in his left anterior descending artery, which is responsible for carrying blood to the heart. David was shocked. He thought he was simply dealing with a sex problem, but in reality, he had a time bomb waiting to go off in his chest. Thankfully, we caught it early, and after surgery, he was able to recover. But many men aren't as fortunate. Here's the important takeaway: erectile dysfunction isn't just about sex. It's a cardiovascular event. If you start noticing changes in your erections, whether it's difficulty maintaining one, reduced firmness, or lack of morning erections, it's time to get serious about your health. Too many men dismiss it as a normal part of getting older or simply ignore it. But ED can be a silent heart attack indicator. By ignoring this sign, you could be putting yourself at risk for heart disease, strokes, or even sudden cardiac arrest. The longer you wait to address the issue, the greater the risk. ED is your body's way of sending you an urgent message: get checked. It's time to take action before the problem becomes a life-threatening emergency. Number 3. Emotional connection in intimacy after 60. As we age, intimacy isn't just about physical connection, it's about emotional closeness too. For many older men, the focus shifts from performance to creating a deeper bond with their partner. Physical intimacy is still important, but the emotional connection plays a crucial role in sustaining intimacy in later years. At a younger age, intimacy often felt spontaneous, fast, and driven by physical desire. But after 60, intimacy becomes much more about quality than quantity. It's about the emotional exchange between you and your partner. It's about feeling seen, heard, and valued, not just in the bedroom, but in life. When emotional connection falters, physical intimacy follows suit. Many men experience a disconnect from their partners, not because of lack of attraction, but because the emotional intimacy is no longer as strong as it once was. I remember one patient, Martin, who came to see me when he was 74. Martin hadn't been intimate with anyone since his wife passed away 5 years ago. Over time, he'd withdrawn into himself, convinced that intimacy was something that no longer belonged in his life. He said, "What's the point at my age?" But I could see it in his eyes. He was lonely. He missed the closeness, the connection. And without that emotional connection, everything else had suffered: his mood, his sleep, and his overall health. Emotional intimacy is more than just a fleeting feeling, it's essential for physical well-being. Oxytocin, the love hormone, is released when we touch or share affection. This chemical doesn't just make you feel good, it reduces stress, helps you sleep better, and even boosts your immune system. When you lose emotional connection, you lose all those benefits. This leads to increased levels of cortisol, a stress hormone that can wreak havoc on your health, causing problems like high blood pressure and heart disease. Older men often isolate themselves, thinking that intimacy is no longer important or achievable. But the truth is, emotional intimacy is even more vital after 60. Reconnecting with your partner, sharing vulnerability, expressing affection, and truly being present for one another, can revitalize not just your relationship, but your overall health as well. By building emotional intimacy, you're building a stronger, more resilient connection that transcends the physical. And that is the key to truly fulfilling intimacy as you age. The emotional medicine of sex after 60. Intimacy after 60 is so much more than just physical, it's deeply emotional and incredibly therapeutic for both your mind and body. At this stage of life, intimacy isn't about proving anything, it's about healing and connection. When emotional closeness is prioritized, the physical experience of intimacy becomes even more powerful. For many older men, sex may no longer feel as effortless as it once did. But here's the thing, as you age, intimacy shifts from being a quick, physical release to becoming a tool for emotional well-being. And this shift is something to embrace, not resist. Emotional intimacy actually functions as emotional medicine. It boosts levels of oxytocin, the hormone responsible for bonding, trust, and happiness. This hormone reduces stress, lowers blood pressure, improves sleep, and has an overall positive impact on heart health. It's amazing to think that something as simple as holding hands or sharing a touch can contribute to such significant health benefits. I've seen men in their 70s and 80s who report feeling rejuvenated, not because they're physically younger, but because they've rediscovered the joy of emotional connection. One patient, Gerald, came to me after struggling for years with feeling disconnected from his partner. He told me, "It's like I'm just going through the motions." But after we talked through the importance of emotional intimacy, he began to open up more with his partner, share deeper conversations, and reconnect emotionally. Over time, his experience of intimacy shifted. He wasn't just having sex, he was experiencing connection again. His emotional well-being improved, and so did his health. The beauty of emotional intimacy is that it doesn't require performance. It's not about lasting longer or meeting specific expectations, it's about being present, feeling safe, and sharing vulnerability. Emotional intimacy can be just as fulfilling, if not more so, than physical intimacy. And when you nurture that connection, your sexual health benefits too. As you age, it's easy to feel like intimacy is a thing of the past, but in truth, it's an opportunity to experience something deeper, more meaningful. Emotional intimacy doesn't just enhance your relationship, it protects your overall health. It's a natural way to lower stress, improve heart function, and even boost your immune system. In many ways, intimacy in later years can be even more rewarding than it was in your youth. It's not about just doing, it's about being with your partner, enjoying each other's company, and giving yourself permission to feel good, emotionally and physically. Number 4. The dangers of porn and unrealistic expectations. In today's digital age, it's easier than ever to turn to pornography for quick gratification. But for many older men, this seemingly harmless habit comes with serious consequences that extend far beyond the bedroom. Pornography distorts expectations in ways that gradually erode real intimacy and self-esteem. The truth is, pornography creates an unrealistic standard for what intimacy should look like. It sets the stage for constant novelty, perfection, and instant satisfaction, things that are not only impossible in real-life relationships but damaging to genuine emotional connections. When men, especially older men, rely on porn for sexual stimulation, they unknowingly shift their expectations of intimacy to a place that is detached, sterile, and often disconnected from true human bonding. I've spoken to countless men who've admitted that they've turned to porn to cope with stress, loneliness, or feelings of inadequacy. They watch it in secret, hoping to find a quick escape, but over time, it distorts their sense of what intimacy should feel like. The more they watch, the more desensitized they become. What once felt exciting and real now feels dull. They begin to compare their partner to the flawless, perfect images they see on screen, and no real partner can measure up to that. Take Walter, a 71-year-old retired Navy veteran, as an example. Walter came to me after years of withdrawing from his wife. He told me they had drifted apart, but as we dug deeper, the truth slowly came out. Walter had developed a habit of watching porn almost daily. What started as an occasional escape turned into a habit that replaced real intimacy. His wife's body, her pace, even the way she touched him, all felt inadequate compared to the hyper-realistic images he saw online. Over time, Walter's desire for his wife dwindled, and their relationship began to suffer. He grew distant, then resentful, and eventually, their physical intimacy came to a halt. His wife, sensing the emotional distance, stopped reaching out to him. The once vibrant connection between them faded away because Walter had started expecting perfection from a screen, not realizing that what he was watching wasn't intimacy at all, it was fantasy. Porn doesn't just affect your sexual performance, it impacts your emotional health and your ability to connect with your partner. The more you turn to porn, the less your body and mind respond to the kind of intimacy that comes from trust, communication, and genuine affection. It creates a barrier between you and your partner, one that becomes harder to break down the longer it persists. So, if you find yourself relying on porn to feel pleasure, ask yourself, what am I missing out on? Real intimacy, with its imperfections, its rawness, and its vulnerability, is far more fulfilling and emotionally rewarding than any fantasy ever could be. It's not too late to make a change. Start reconnecting with your partner on an emotional level, focusing on real intimacy instead of fantasy. When you do, you'll experience a kind of connection that can't be replicated on a screen, a connection that heals, satisfies, and strengthens your bond. How porn reshapes expectations and destroys real connection. The impact of pornography isn't just about how it affects your body, it goes much deeper into how it rewires your brain. What starts as a quick escape or occasional indulgence can slowly reshape your expectations of intimacy and completely alter how you view and connect with your partner. The issue with porn is that it creates a false standard of intimacy. It feeds you an endless cycle of unrealistic visuals, where everything is perfect, immediate, and unflinchingly gratifying. But real-life intimacy doesn't work like that. It's not just about physical stimulation, it's about connection, vulnerability, and understanding between partners. Porn erodes those qualities over time, leaving men disconnected from the very thing that makes intimacy special, the emotional bond. For many men, this begins slowly. They may not even notice the shift at first. But over time, the brain becomes more and more conditioned to expect the quick dopamine hit that comes from pornography. The result? Real-life sex becomes less stimulating and feels more like an obligation than an experience of emotional connection. The excitement fades, and eventually, some men find themselves unable to reach climax with a partner, or worse, they lose interest altogether. I had a patient, John, a 72-year-old man who came to me struggling with intimacy. He was in a committed marriage, but his relationship with his wife had become emotionally distant, and physical intimacy had become almost non-existent. During our discussions, John confessed to watching porn regularly. Initially, he told me it was just a way to deal with loneliness, but as we continued to talk, he admitted that he couldn't find satisfaction with his wife anymore. It wasn't because he didn't love her, it was because he trained his brain to seek constant novelty and intensity, things that pornography provides, but real intimacy does not. As a result, his emotional distance grew. What once felt natural, being close to his partner, exploring intimacy together, now felt empty. Over time, he lost the desire for real connection, chasing the false promise of excitement that he could only find in front of a screen. What happens here is a silent erosion of intimacy. Porn doesn't just affect sexual performance, it impacts the emotional bond you share with your partner. The more you turn to it, the less able you are to appreciate the true beauty of intimacy, the connection, the shared moments, and the closeness that forms the foundation of a healthy relationship. It's important to recognize that this isn't just about physical pleasure. It's about creating an environment where both partners feel valued, seen, and connected. Reclaiming intimacy means rebuilding that emotional connection and learning to appreciate real, unfiltered moments of closeness. Letting go of the false expectations set by pornography isn't easy, but it's worth it. When you do, you'll rediscover the depth of real intimacy and the meaningful connection that can grow stronger with time. Pushing yourself too hard and too fast. As men age, it's common to feel the urge to prove that you still have it, the same energy, the same strength, the same ability to perform as you did in your youth. But pushing yourself too hard and too fast in the bedroom can be dangerous and have serious consequences for your health. It's natural to want to feel vital and desired, especially when intimacy starts to feel less spontaneous or more challenging. But the truth is, intimacy after 60 isn't about proving your youthful vitality, it's about listening to your body and respecting its limits. Trying to perform like you did at 30 without giving your body the proper preparation and care is setting yourself up for failure, and potentially worse. Take Leonard, a 74-year-old patient who came to see me a few years ago. Leonard had recently started dating a younger woman and felt the pressure to keep up. He was proud of his vitality and wanted to show that he was still capable of everything he did in his younger years. So, one night, he decided to go for it without properly preparing. He skipped his medications, drank a bit too much wine, and even took an over-the-counter enhancement pill. That night, while in the middle of intimacy, Leonard collapsed from cardiac arrest. By the time paramedics arrived, it was too late. Leonard's body couldn't handle the strain he put it through, trying to prove something that wasn't necessary. The reality is, sex is physical exercise. Just like running a marathon or lifting heavy weights, it demands preparation. If your body isn't conditioned for that level of stress, especially as you age, it can put serious strain on your heart and cardiovascular system. The blood pressure spikes, your heart works harder, and if you're not careful, you could be risking much more than a disappointing moment. It could be your health or your life. It's not about being weak or incapable, it's about understanding that your body needs a different approach at this stage of life. Slowing down, taking your time, preparing emotionally and physically, these are all ways to ensure that intimacy remains enjoyable, fulfilling, and most importantly, safe. Don't let pride or ego drive you to overexert yourself. The more you listen to your body, the more you'll enjoy intimacy in a way that protects your health and your relationship. You don't need to prove anything to anyone, least of all to yourself. The goal is quality, not quantity, and understanding your own body's needs is the key to maintaining that. The cost of trying to prove youthful vitality at older ages. In our younger years, we had the luxury of effortless vitality. Spontaneous energy, quick recoveries, and no real concern for the wear and tear on our bodies. But as we age, trying to maintain the same level of performance, physically, sexually, emotionally, can be not just unrealistic, but dangerous. Too many men feel the pressure to prove they're still the man they once were, even after 60. Whether it's trying to keep up with a younger partner, competing with old expectations of themselves, or simply trying to feel alive, these attempts can come at a cost that's far higher than most realize. I remember David, a 68-year-old man who came to me after pushing himself too hard during an intimate moment with his girlfriend. He'd been feeling the effects of aging, less energy, slower recovery, and, of course, less spontaneous intimacy. But David refused to acknowledge those changes. He didn't want to admit that his body was no longer able to respond the way it used to. He wanted to prove that he was still young in every way, and so he pushed himself far beyond what his body was prepared for. The result? David ended up in the emergency room with severe chest pain, a clear sign that his heart was under stress he could have avoided. It was a wake-up call for him, realizing that trying to prove vitality without considering the reality of aging was not only harmful to his health but also detrimental to his relationship. What David didn't understand, and what many men in their later years failed to recognize, is that trying to keep up with youthful expectations, whether it's in the bedroom or in life, can have catastrophic consequences. The body changes, and that's okay. What's not okay is ignoring those changes and pushing too hard, thinking you're still invincible. Intimacy after 60 is not about matching a 30-year-old's pace. It's about understanding that vitality evolves, and that maturity brings a deeper, more meaningful form of connection. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. In fact, embracing the natural rhythm of your aging body allows you to enjoy intimacy in ways that are much more satisfying than simply trying to prove you're still capable of what you once did. The goal is to listen to your body, adjust your expectations, and find peace with your new reality. This isn't about losing anything, it's about discovering new ways to connect, express love, and experience pleasure, all while respecting the changes that come with age. In the end, acceptance of these changes is the true source of vitality and connection. By now, you've learned 5 critical truths that older men often wish they had known earlier. These aren't just tips or quick fixes. They're turning points, moments of wisdom that separate men who age with strength, vitality, and connection from those who silently struggle, feeling isolated and disconnected. Let's quickly recap what we've uncovered today. 1. Spontaneity may have worked when you were younger, but as you age, intimacy requires intention, communication, and preparation. It's not a weakness, it's a sign of wisdom. 2. Erectile dysfunction isn't just a bedroom problem, it's a potential warning sign for heart disease. Pay attention to those signals, it could save your life. 3. Emotional intimacy is just as important as physical intimacy after 60. Your connection to your partner isn't just about sex, it's about feeling seen, understood, and valued. 4. Pornography distorts your expectations of intimacy and can erode real emotional connections. True intimacy is messy, real, and grounded in trust, not fantasy. 5. Trying to prove your youthful vitality can lead to serious health risks. It's important to listen to your body, embrace your age, and enjoy intimacy at a pace that's healthy, respectful, and fulfilling. These truths aren't just about improving your sex life, they're about improving your overall health, confidence, and quality of life. You don't have to be the man you were in your youth to feel alive. You can still experience meaningful, connected intimacy. It just requires a shift in mindset, a willingness to adapt, and the courage to face the truth about your body and relationships. If any part of today's message resonated with you, if it made you think, reflect, or feel seen, don't let it stop here. Take action. Talk to your partner. Talk to your doctor. Make your health and intimacy a priority. Whether it's getting your heart checked, letting go of unrealistic expectations, or simply having an honest conversation with your loved one, every step you take toward improving your intimacy, mental well-being, and physical health will pay off in the long run. Remember, it's not about proving anything. It's about living fully in the present moment, with awareness, intentionality, and honesty. There's still so much to experience, to give, and to feel. You are still capable of connection, of love, and of intimacy. Thank you for taking the time to learn with me today. I want to leave you with this: the choice to live fully, to embrace your body and your relationships, and to reclaim your vitality is in your hands. It's never too late to start. And if you're still with me, still listening, I want to say thank you, because you've just taken the first step towards a new beginning.